Okay, so we are here live with our audience as they are joining. I am definitely taking a moment to just kind of from dealing with children.
Understood.
Yes. So the last minute it was like, mommy mode. Then I got to get back to work mode. So it takes a moment to switch that brain from one thing to another. But yeah, definitely today we have a really good conversation about some really important topics. Just making sure that we have a good understanding to help each other. That's all what this weekly thing is about that I'm doing live with our audience. I'm not sure if anyone can hear that sound in the background. It sounds a little bit like, I don't know, echoey or something. And I'm wondering if it's coming from my phone, if it's coming from your phone. I'm not really sure. The sound is horrible. Okay. Try muting your phone for a split second to see if that changes things. I'm just curious. Yep.
I don't know where to put you. I'm not located at home.
That sounds like that might be better. Say something.
Trying, testing. A
Okay.
little, a
To
little.
me, that sounds a lot better. We'll give it a little second. I see Judy Joy. Thank you for joining. All right. She did say it was better. So that's good.
Okay.
All right. So what we'll do is go ahead and jump into this then.
Check.
So, our topic tonight is really controversial in many ways, but for any of my viewers that have watched before, they know that I'm not a very political person in general, although I have lots of opinions about most things. I don't claim to be a professional on a political front. When it comes to this topic here, it's no problem. All right, that's good. You hear me. All right, so we're working on the sound here. We're working on the sound. But in the meantime, if you guys have gotten a chance to check last week's discussion was a little bit um, inspiring and also very helpful to give us some great tools as we are putting ourselves in harm's way to go into the community and help others a lot of times. So, giving us a little bit of insight on what things to be mindful of and different ways that we can protect ourselves, especially around the holiday season as people are going out to do outreach programs and things of that nature a lot. So, if you didn't catch last week episode, that's what we were doing. And today, our topic is on the matter of what's happening right now. We just had a very big election, and during this election, or after this election, I've noticed we've had a big um, increase on our customers for my firearm company that we're very scared and nervous and frustrated and angry as a result to the winnings. And so people are getting very on edge about safety and just trying to do everything they can to find themselves in a more safe predicament. So, welcome, welcome. It looks like we're getting people from all over today. So, welcome.
Hola, ¿qué pasa?
And so definitely appreciate you guys joining. Definitely stay tuned. I hope this is some great insight for you guys. So get a little bit of firsthand experience or secondhand, I guess I should say, what's going on in the US right now as a result of our election. So we're having some people that are really panicking, as a result of the election turnout. And my goal today is to minimize that panic and try to help us come up with some understanding and some tools that's going to help us have a little bit easygoing time as we deal with the reality. So, one of the things I've noticed again is my customers are calling. I have new customers calling, and two major things is happening. It's mostly women that are calling because they feel like they may be more at risk to being attacked. Um, and I have women calling, husbands calling on their behalf because they're now interested in having their wives know how to handle firearms. And as a result of their women being more vulnerable than them. So this is what we're seeing right here firsthand with my company. And so I wanted to shed some light on that because I had a conversation with my husband, and he didn't even realize the what was at stake here. So one of the things that I guess I should say I gave him a little bit more clarity about what was at stake as far as these the divide that we had on this topic on women's rights, as far as being able to get an abortion or not, whether you're for it or not, whether or not you have a choice to do it or not. This was a major issue for a lot of women. The fact that they feel like their rights are being taken away or that our rights are being taken away. And then the other thing was the fact that so many women wanted to have that choice be open because the fact is, and this is actual facts, this is not me speaking. Looking at RAIN facts, this is an organization, one of the large, well, the largest organization revolving around sexual assault. RAIN is the acronym for Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, and it's the largest anti-sexual violence organization. And their statistical data says that one of every 6 women in America are or have been sexually assaulted, or at least attempted to. And so when I put that in perspective to my husband having that conversation, he was like, wow, that's actually true. Like he brought that statistic to me because he found that research. And him and I talked about it, and I'm like, wow, I mean, it makes sense. I know so many women that have been a victim as well. So I can see how, in the back of their mind, having the ability to choose about your own body if something like that took place, you know, and so that's one of those things that some women are very, very upset about and boisterous about. And then, welcome you guys, welcome everyone. I'm seeing people popping in from everywhere. And so, when it comes to that topic, that's one major thing. The other topic is about the rise of activity for white supremacy, I should say. And that's another major issue that people are calling about, and why they are saying, I need to learn how to deal with firearms. I need to know how to defend myself and things of that nature. So let's address that right from the beginning. So, what I would like to tell you guys is, regardless of whoever was going to be in office, America has had some problems before then, right? We've already had problems with sexual assault. We've already had problems with gun violence and all types of violence, okay? And so we are a nation that, when it's necessary, we can come together if we choose to. And I think this is a good time to do that. I do feel like, everybody's going to have their own opinions, but I don't think really anybody really wants their family members or themselves to go through being a victim of sexual assault or being a victim of gun violence. And let's go ahead and dive right into what the definition of gun violence actually is. And this may find some people might be a little baffled by this, to understand that the term gun violence does not just mean homicide or attempt for homicide. It actually is also a collection of suicide as well. And statistics have shown that suicide is actually higher counts of cases in America than homicide. So, as it results to gun violence, we have to keep that in mind too when we speak of gun violence. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to explore our special guest, which I'm going to go ahead and have her introduce herself. She has had some experiences with gun violence, and she said, hey, I wouldn't mind sharing my story and my experience. So I would like to talk to Miss Alyssa. Welcome, welcome to the channel. Thank you
Thank you
so
for
much.
having me.
No problem. And if you
Is
want to give
the echo any better?
it is, it's a lot better. Thank you. Now, if you want to give us a little bit of background about yourself, what it is you do, I know for business is how you are not connected. So if you want to give a little backdrop about that, that would be great.
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Alyssa. I am a digital marketer. So, what I do pretty much for my business is holistic funnels. So, that's the process of somebody from not knowing you at all to becoming a loyal fan, client, or customer. I do that through social media, landing pages, email, and text. And I just do that for a bunch of people's businesses. So I come into the business, people either contract or put me on retainer to help them with their business. Right now, for me, as you were saying with you, you have a panic with the election. For me, the panic is money and resources for me, and what I'm seeing in my business from a consulting standpoint. And then we're coming upon the holiday season. So Black Friday, Veterans Day, Cyber Monday, Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, all of that from a business perspective is a lot with the taxes in the election, as we were speaking about earlier. So that's a little bit about me. As we met in the metaverse, actually, Lee, he was one of my clients. He kind of popped in. I came to one of his events, and then he found out that I could build in the metaverse. So I told him about spatial. I actually have a YouTube video if y'all want to follow my other channel, Fearless. Well, actually, I changed it to Fearless Funnels because I got a new domain. But if you want to go to Fearless Funnels, you'll be able to watch it completely how to build in spatial. But I gave him that information and he ran off with it, and we were able to meet in the metaverse. So that's how we connected. And yes, I'm very excited for this conversation, interested to see where it's going to go because I haven't honestly talked on a platform about any of the things that have happened in my life as far as gun violence, but it's been a whole lot. So I'm excited to talk about it.
I really appreciate you taking the time to have that conversation. I mean, I know it's a tough conversation to have. Nobody wants to reflect on negative things such as that. And I just appreciate you sharing with us because I thought it was a really powerful testimony. You being a young woman growing up with these events happening around you and you having to find a way to move on through life like normal even though these things have happened. So yeah, it's really a strong testament to the fact that you are surviving and you, as a result of these things happening, they didn't. I don't think that they hindered you. I don't know you very well, but I don't think they hindered you from being successful and continuing to do the things that you like to do and love to do. So let's just go ahead and jump right into that. Let's talk about what was the first experience with gun violence and about how old were
Mhm.
you?
That I can remember that was like major for me, honestly, was when I was in high school. It was a parents' day. And I don't know about you all, but for me, I got a little bit of intuition. So my intuition kind of sounds crazy at sometimes. And I had said to my mom, because it was Parents' Day and the type of security we had at our school, this would be the day that somebody would come in and try something, is what I said to my mom directly. And I just directly said someone would shoot up the school. What ended up happening is we went to our first block, everything was good. And mind you, this was my senior year, and my mom had done this with me every single year before. And it was completely fine for me. It was exciting tradition for her to come see what I do. So that we went to our first block, everything was fine. Our second block, everybody went into a lockdown mode, and it was very crazy for me because my parents are both teachers, and I know what's supposed to happen and what that protocol looks like. So that's kind of another part of the gun violence conversation, having proper protocol when it comes to something like that. And my teacher was not following protocol. She was actually more concerned with me being on my phone and reprimanded me for being on my phone at the
Wow,
time of the lockdown. Now, considering that you and I both live in Virginia, I don't know if that's public knowledge or not. If not,
that's
we'll go
fine.
back. We can edit that part out. But you and I both live in Virginia, and our governor actually mandated that we cannot have phones in school. So that goes for the whole school day. You're not supposed to have your phone inside of the building. Now, when something like this happens, the first thing my thoughts go to is one, are my friends okay? Two, what's going on? Three, if it is something going on, and what ended up happening was we were on lockdown for hours. You cannot tell me I cannot be on my phone. I can't. I'm glad that my parents cared about me enough to come to the parents' day. But if my mom wasn't there, that whole day would have gone different for me.
Mhm.
And I can't contact my, like, that's a whole problem within itself. So like I said, the teacher did not follow protocol, and she reprimanded me for being on my phone. And the type of drill that they called, because my parents are teachers, I knew that that type of drill meant lights off, under desks, out of the window. She was still trying to teach. So I actually went off on her, like low key went off on her, and was told her that that's what's supposed to happen. And my mother, who's also a teacher, my teacher knew was a teacher, said yes, that's true. Proper protocol for this situation is for us to turn off the lights and be away from the window.
Mhm.
So we ended up doing that. Time goes by. We are sitting there for 30 minutes. The first notification that we get is that it's an internal emergency and a weapon is involved. Actually, I don't even
Wow.
think we got told a weapon is involved. It was a lot of crazy lies, a lot of crazy lies. And at first, they told us that the person had a pulmonary condition. Somebody had a pulmonary condition, and we're just sitting there in lockdown with our parents in high school. Mind you, my senior year, for me, I'm a cheerleader. I did all of this different stuff. We're sitting there, and then they end up telling us that somebody, I think it was a gun situation. So then it got serious. And mind you, it happened on the floor on. And because it was Parents' Day, a lot of people heard the gun go off, but we had metal chairs. So there was extra folding chairs, like if you're at a cookout, the folding
Mhm.
chairs were all in the hallway, so they would fall a lot. So the sound wasn't, nobody thought of
Right.
anything. What
Yeah.
ended up happening was somebody ended up killing themselves in in the bathroom with a gun, and they put the book bag in between their head and tried to muffle the sound. Now, what ended up happening in my first block, we had A days and B days. My B day first block, the person who discovered him was in my class. So I also witnessed him getting pulled out throughout the school year for the remainder of the school year because he had to
Wow.
go to counseling. In
Mhm.
addition to that, that day, they remained on lockdown almost the whole entire day. They did not tell anybody that anybody passed away or anything like that until like way, way later. Because I was with my parents, if you were with your parents, you were allowed to go to the cafeteria and they had to release them. Everybody else stayed in school for a full school day. Also, the
Wow.
next day we went to school. There was no day off, there was no nothing. What ended up happening is they boarded up the bathroom. My
Mhm.
sisters go to that school now. They told me there's no
Wow.
boards in the bathroom anymore.
Wow.
So that was
Wow.
kind of my first experience with gun violence and how like
That's
yeah,
really sad and unfortunate. I mean, my heart goes out to the family that had to learn that their child did that to themselves. I mean, words can't even express. I mean, as a parent, I have a high school daughter, and I mean, I have other kids in school, and I can't even express the the feeling that I would feel to say that I got that call that my child did that to themselves, you know? It's
right.
really terrible. I mean, when people think about stress, I don't think that people consider that minors have stress as well. When I say minors, I'm thinking of all kids, all minors have stress. And I don't think lots of adults take any time to consider the type of stress that their child may be under, regardless of what age their child is. Even babies feel stress.
Right. And fixing
Yes.
that stress is a ripple effect because the butterfly effect of that event is one, now a lot of kids had to go to counseling. I was honest,
Mhm.
and at that time I was depressed, and I we all had to write a letter. It's the next day after the situation. The same teacher that reprimanded me for being on my phone made me write a letter and tell how we felt about the situation. My not smart self said I could understand how he got to that point. I ended up being in counseling for the rest of my senior year and had to go through parent counseling, like with my parents, because of that letter and what I put in that letter and saying that I could understand how he got to that point in high school. So,
Wow.
as a ripple effect, that next day, our principal had to give an address. This grown man, big six something man, is now crying in front of us.
Mm.
So he's telling us, like, I'm sorry this happened. Because, first of all, I told you they lied to us. Told us it was a heart something. We have to be on lockdown. The teachers don't even know how to do lockdown. So after that, he ended up retiring. So that ripple effect of how one student could have been helped
Mhm.
Now we have to put all these kids in counseling. We have to retire this person. Now we see this big, strong man breaking down because kids can't express themselves the way that they want to or need to. Or what does that look like in 2024? In a lot of different aspects, people worry about what's been talked about in these different election times. So it just is very interesting from that perspective.
Yeah, it definitely is because a lot of times when we hear in the media about something happening to, someone like that, the first thing people and the only thing people usually think about is the person and their family, the victim and their family. But now here we are talking about the ripple effect, how many other people is affected. And that is one of the things that I'm constantly teaching and talking about to my students, especially when I have any children that are my students. But let's take a moment and let's go to the chat area here.
Right.
First, I want to point out to you guys that one, as you guys know from my regulars, that this is our community discussion. Even though I know it's worldwide, we still consider it a community discussion because I want you guys to understand that many people are going to have a different opinion than you, but we're going to maintain respect. And that's okay that we have different opinions about things. So while I have people in here, saying different things that others may not agree, that's fine. You guys don't have to address it. If you don't agree, you just leave it alone and make your own comment. That's fine. But let's go to one person said, "Hello, I own an AK and only had to use it 2 times. Gun violence is sad. At the end of the day, I'm sorry. At the end, and they out to come. Oh, it saved them twice. That's what they're saying. They have the AK and they had to use it twice. It saved them twice. Well, I'm very happy that you were able to defend yourself, and hopefully you don't have to go through, continued counseling as a result of. Hopefully, you can overcome that. If so. And then when it came, and you said that you're happy, the same person said that they were happy that we were talking about gun violence. And I'm so glad too, because we need to shed more lights on this. Let's see, somebody has said guns are needed now more than ever than before. And this is why we are here, because that statement right there, lots of people do feel like this is an increased time as to why we need firearms. I feel like it's no different than any other time. If we really put it in perspective, I mean, let's put this in perspective here. A lot of the times that we act on things that we see and hear, and sometimes those things that we see and hear are half truths. So we need to wait till we get the full truth. And I'll reveal some things to you guys a little bit later while I'm saying that. Let's see. Let's go down to here. One person. Okay, let me just call this out here. Drew asks, do you like guns now or are you traumatized? That was a specific question to you as a result of your experience.
So actually, it was funny that before I was asked to be on this show, I actually got kind of trained with BBs. I personally don't own any firearms. I'm more than likely going to own a firearm down the line because of some of the other stories that I'll let you know down the road as we get deeper. And if you want to hear some of those stories, make sure you give us a like and share with your friends who need to hear this conversation. But we will definitely talk about some of the other things. But to answer your question, I'm not necessarily traumatized by the usage of weapons. Now, did that situation do some interesting things? Yeah, I mean, somebody lying to you while you're in school and telling you one thing, and then somebody completely just killed themselves, and now you have to go to school every day and walk past the bathroom that's boarded up and watch this kid get pulled out of class and questioned. That was a traumatizing situation, especially having to keep going to school at that time. But
Mhm.
that's what therapy's for. That's what praying is for. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that's facts. I mean, if a person doesn't have any type of root in spirituality, I can even see how more challenging this would be to overcome. So I'm glad you were able to answer that question. The next statement said is triggering PTSD for surviving teens who have younger siblings coming to that school and causes anxiety. Ooh, Judy, thank you.
Judy, I wish I could tell you that was like that's probably the worst thing that happened at that school, but something was wrong with that school. It was a lot of things, like a lot of crazy things going on at that school. So that PTSD for the surviving teens going back to that school is very, very interesting. And it was actually an epidemic in our city. Like another school ended up having a situation where somebody actually left during the school day to go commit suicide. And
Mm,
what ended up happening is our district did a lot of school swaps. Like you see on TV, like literally, I felt like my whole high school career was very much High School Musical, and I went to a music academy, so it was very much High School Musical. But yeah, we ended up switching schools with the school of the same person that ended up like it was two suicide surviving schools, and I saw how that trauma affected the other school, and the other school had entire chants and everything. If you want to see that, that's on my YouTube channel on this channel. So I'm telling you the truth. So yeah,
wow.
it's very interesting to see the again ripple effect of how
Mhm.
one person can do something cause harm even to themselves, and it does a
It
lot.
just keeps going. Yeah. And the thing that I like that Judy brought up the word anxiety, okay? Because this is also something in my own life that I was just, I guess, going down a rabbit hole about, okay? First of all, me growing up, I think my generation, I don't even think we knew what the word anxiety meant, okay? I feel like that was like a new development of a word in our adult life. That's at least that's my personal opinion. And so to hear so many kids are now having anxiety, it really make me think like, what is going on? And Judy made a good the fact that you put out there about the PTSD affecting one person, how that could cause anxiety in another person. I think I think each generation dealt with the anxiety. They may have had a different name for it, or they may not have had no name for it. And I guess that's what my shock is. And the fact that a lot of the kids now, because each generation going forward, as an adult, when you have kids, you want to give your kids a better life than you. Then when they have kids, they want to give their kids a better life than them. And so now you're having a lot of kids, for lack of a better word, spoiled and living their best life. And it's like adults look back and like, what are you having anxiety for? You live a great life.
And I have a strong opinion on that. I have a very we were talking about opinions before we started, y'all. And
Yes.
Global Glock 45, definitely glad that you're getting your daughter trained up. But for me and my generation and anybody of the current not even my generation, anybody that currently is on earth at this time, especially in the United States or anywhere where media is present, I think that's what brings a lot of anxiety because I can
Mhm.
tell you the details of what I just told you, and you can really go and type in everything that I just said, and you can go find an article about it in live real
Right.
time. Somebody came to the school and was presenting on the news on these situations. So even if you're not experiencing it live there, even if you're sitting at home, you now have to see that 2 miles down the road from you is kids with guns. Whether even if he
Mhm.
didn't hurt himself, the main problem is a minor shouldn't be having a firearm that's not trained to use that firearm because that part came like it there's a whole they ended up doing a whole bunch of stories on this situation. So it's very interesting how like the anxiety of a situation can get exacerbated or like blown up by the media, and like
Mhm.
even the wars and this whole political debate that we just had, depending on what news station you even looked at, you would hear different things about each candidate. Like, I
Exactly.
don't think either of them are inherently like just trying to mess up the US for us, but you would hear
Mhm.
that this person's too old, this person's a female, this look, it
Yeah.
depends on what station you go to. So that part breeds anxiety as well because now you're getting just bombarded with a whole lot of information and you don't know how to feel about it. And now the next thing you scroll up, you just saw a bombing. The next thing you scroll up, you just saw another kid's did school shootings. And some of these people don't feel anxiety about these things. You have to think about the other people that see these things and get like, I want to do this. That's the thing
Mhm.
we really need to be worried about.
Yep. Yep. And that's exactly right. And this is, you get these copycat type situations that is as a result of this information that's out there. And, even I know some people here are saying that, what's going on right now, the panic attack, is an anxiety, and the fact that anxiety will keep someone home, as one of our viewers is saying too, will keep someone home and not go out too much of anywhere. So,
Pandemic.
it's, yeah. So let's talk about this other situation. So you went on ahead and graduated high school, and then you went into college, and then what happened?
I felt like my college was cursed. You know, you go to college, they say you're supposed to network, you're supposed to do all this stuff. At the time, I went to a community college that had a dorm. So for me, I was lit because I'm saving money. To me, I was getting an extra degree. And at that time, I wanted to be a dentist. So I was like, you know what? This is the best route for me because if I got 10 years ahead of me, I might as well just sit down. So
Yeah.
this place was in the middle of the country, mind you. I'm not necessarily a country girl. So the friendships that you build in a place like that is a little bit stronger than the average thing. We only had 3 dormitories for my years. The first year, only 2 dormitories. So it was
Mhm.
just like very fun environment, but we're in the middle of nowhere. Let's be real. So
Right.
I had a I met a lot of people. I was actually a RA, so some of the other stories that I came across was just people that I encountered just off the strength of me sitting
Mhm.
here and having to deal with like all these different personalities. So the first situation that I had, actually had a friend, and this was the first person that I got close to that I found out was gang affiliated. Now that was a different type of gun violence because now I'm witnessing back and forth type of gun violence, and now I'm witnessing that person ended up passing away. And seeing that and that type of gun violence, because I would have never experienced this if I wasn't in college, that was interesting. Also seeing, um, further than that, two of my friends who we all lived together, both of them ended up passing away due to gun violence. So that part was very interesting because for them, they were both females. Both of them got were in a situation where they were either in a party setting or at a bar setting, and somebody ended up shooting. The worst situation was the one that I ended up being roommates with outside of college. We had gone through 100%. Do we agree to which part? But I ended up going through 100% of the pandemic. We ended up having to lose our dorms, the apartments that we had just worked for. We ended up having to lose those. So my friends and I, we had a business. We ended up calling it "Is It Bad?" This business, we were making YouTube videos. We were doing all types of cool stuff. And then our friend was like, "You know what? I'm gonna go to New York." We're like, "Girl, it's the pandemic." Her phone ended up breaking. We was like, "You don't got no phone? Why would you go to New York? Don't do that."
Right.
She ends up going and she got shot in her back 5 times. And she ended
Wow.
up bleeding out. And that situation itself, because she was in New York and it was pandemic time, somebody lied and said that they were her point of contact and saw her body. Her mom drove all the way up to New York, could not see her body because in the pandemic, you could only see one person could only see at a time. Couldn't
Wow.
touch, you couldn't do nothing. So that in itself is just a crazy situation. The way in which the person killed her, they corralled that they were in a party. They let a mom and son go out the door. They had 2 gunmen go up the stairs and go to the back of the hall and then shot at everybody, making them come down the stairs, and then had another gunman at the bottom of the stairs, just making sure everybody got shot. Even if somebody tried to go into an apartment, they went in and pulled them out. Unfortunately, the anxiety part, the part I'm talking about, the media. There's a platform much like the Shade Room that ended up posting the videos of this, ended up making like posting my friend's picture, making fun of the situation, saying that it went from a shooter because he played basketball to a shooter.
Wow.
It was very, very interesting. So then I
Mhm.
ended up going through the trials with her mom because This was my roommate. This is my business partner. This is somebody. I ended up going through the trials, and now I'm listening to the judge tell this 16-year-old kid that just shot my friend, who's not even, she didn't even get her first legal drink, that he should stay in school, in the programs, in jail, because there's going to come a time he gets out. Mind you, they didn't just kill my friend. They killed somebody on the way to where they went. They shot 7 people while they were there.
Wow.
So that was like a crazy situation where I kind of got more invested in the situation, where I
Mhm.
started kind of using the gun violence tags. All of her, like, kind of branding that her mom ended up doing for her, all included gun violence awareness and stuff like that. Her favorite color was yellow. The gun violence is orange. So we kind of combined those things together. And
Mhm.
that situation was kind of my first, like, okay, this is kind of crazy, and people just do anything. Because it's one thing to
Mhm.
hear it, it's another thing to be scrolling on social media and have your friends send you the situation that happened. I was so glad that I didn't get to, like, they didn't have that part of her, but you saw the situation
Mhm.
of everybody else. So
Right.
that was crazy. And just being able to see the articles, that's how, for our generation, that anxiety gets created.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's real. I mean, that's really sad and unfortunate that this is happening, and it's happening, and affecting so many people. The fact that these kids went in there and shoot people, kill people in a way, and then unalive more people when they get there, and it's like, oh, the judge is telling you, oh, you have a future. Why do you have a future? You shouldn't have a
Why?
future. You just took everybody else's future. You just took like 7 people's future. Like, why do you have a future? It should be over for you. And it's amazing because you have so many people affected by this in so many different ways. The fact that you have this person who did this thing now unalive all these lives, and the people that were there have this traumatic experience on their head and then bring the rest of their lives, their family members and friends, as you're experiencing. And not only that, the person who committed this crime, they have loved ones and family members that no longer will get to see them until they get out and things. So it's
And let me
such a
tell you
ripple
some
effect.
sickening facts in this case. Okay, some sickening facts that I'm glad that we're sharing this with the community, because when I talk to about amongst my friends about it, it's one thing, but, like, it's very interesting. So this was a gang related thing. Mind you, this was during pandemic times. So this is a Zoom trial. I got to hear the parents of this 16-year-old and their loved ones give why this person should not be locked up.
Wow.
So that's a situation that's very interesting, because we get to hear how somebody who took away somebody's right to live now has rights to do other things. And that's kind
Hmm.
of where it's very interesting. Now, another thing, you said the ripple effect of her family. One of the hardest conversations I've ever had to have in my whole life was with her little sister. She genuinely asked me what she's supposed to do. She was 8 years old. I told her, because they had to come over and now get this girl's stuff. She had moved all of
Right.
her stuff out of her mom's house into our apartment. We were supposed to be there. Now, we had to live with an empty room for like 6 months. We had to think about, what are we going to do about this piece of, like, it sounds very superficial. And of course, nobody's wants to think about this first. But as we're getting 2 months, 3 months into this, that was a piece of a whole person. We got to learn how to cook different things now. We got to get more income. And we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Right.
So these are like real decisions. So I had to end up telling her 8-year-old sister how to calm herself down while she's thinking about these things.
Hmm.
And I told her what I do is I scream into my pillow, because you can scream into your pillow, and if you keep adding pillows, you can get as much out. Make sure you breathe, but let it go. I
Yeah.
walked out of my room because I had a loft, and her sister's room was downstairs. All you can hear is this little girl screaming. It was so sad. We just started crying. It was so sad. To
I
hear
bet.
a 8-year-old break
Mhm.
down because she can never see her sister again is so oh. And
Yeah,
I unfortunately had to tell this story so many times that I've gotten good at, like,
getting
sucking
through
these
it.
tears back in these
Yeah.
eyeballs, but
I'm trying to hold him back as well, listening, and I'm amazed that you are getting through this in this way. You're doing a very good job, honestly.
right.
And I'm in agreement with Every Dream Possible Entertainment. You need a book.
Well,
Yes.
Imma write a book because the other situation, like, my friend who told me that this happened, sh her mom ended up telling me that our other friend passed away. Isn't that crazy?
Her
My
mom told
friend's
you
mom
what? The phone. The phone.
my friend's mom of the story I just told you, she's
Mm-hmm.
the one that told me that my other friend who are where we're roommates, she passed away. And that girl that passed away was the one that told me my first friend that I told you passed away. So it's very
Mm-hmm.
interesting. And like for me to see how none of them lived in the same place, like, but how that affected a bunch of different people's lives. And we
Yeah.
know they had to be good enough to go to college. So we can't think,
Mm-hmm.
even if you're watching this, okay, you're black, we were in a messed up place, you went out and partied. You know they had to be good enough to get into college. You know they wanted to better their lives.
Right. Right.
So
And that's
now,
that's the funny thing about it, because when it comes to things like that happening, the first thing people want to say is they were in a place they shouldn't have been. I mean, at the end of the day, that's a terrible statement to make. And the fact of, if somebody's at a party, it doesn't mean that they're doing something bad just because they're at a party. It doesn't mean they're doing something illegal or inappropriate or anything. Um, and I'm a testament of that. If it wasn't for the fact of me not enjoying being drunk, not enjoying getting high, I probably would be a clubber, like, honestly, because I love music, I love dancing. And so parties, club, whatever, that would have been the scene I would thrive in. However, all the other stuff and growing up in DC, it just was not safe. I was always mindful of being unsafe. So I always thought, okay, this is not for me. I'm not going to talk about anybody else, but it's not for me to be drunk or high, because then I can't be conscious of my surroundings the way I need to be. So I'm not going to put myself in that place. But besides that, the music, girl, I was on full. I was
right, and
dancing.
in this situation with the second story that I told you, it was a birthday party, a 16-year-old birthday party. So for that to occur is just like
Yeah.
very interesting how that happens.
Mhm. Yeah, that's really amazing. So, wow. I just Words can't even express again. I'm so sorry for your loss and these experiences. I really am. I mean, and then, like, one of the viewers is saying, now it definitely helped make you stronger. It did, you
Yes,
know.
I definitely, if you want to like look into anything, you can check out our old channel. Is It Bad? You can watch my friend, her life
Mhm.
is very beautiful. She's very beautiful. I actually ended up making her memoriam video on that channel. So you can
Mhm.
definitely check that out because that was honestly where I had to realize how strong I really was, asking her friends and family for these videos and pictures
Mhm.
and then taking them and making an hour long video and having to edit it and rewatch it and put music behind it. And if y'all are into content creation, that's a long process of watching the same
It
thing
is.
over and over and over again. So
Yeah.
these things happen, but that's why we have to have these conversations and why I'm very grateful for people like you. Because if we have people like Global Glock 45 that are training their daughters, I don't know how old his daughter is, but I'm just assuming that she's younger, training people from the age so they know what to do with a firearm. They know that it's not anything to play with. They know that it can take a life, and train them
Mhm.
even mentally from a mental standpoint. You shouldn't be trying to take your life or anybody else's life with that firearm. You should only be
Right.
using it for defense, recreation if that's what you're into, hunting if that's what you're into, but there are uses for these things, and being reckless with these devices is not um it's not beneficial in the long term, even if it's not for you, even if you're harming yourself, that ripple effect, as we discussed, it's
Right.
there.
And you're absolutely right. I agree with everything you said. I mean, that's honestly one of the biggest things that I feel I want everyone to take away from being able to be a part of these lives is that they would get this information, this knowledge, and they would go into their own homes and be able to teach and educate their family about things that are revolving around firearm safety awareness and women empowerment. I mean, because it starts in the home. That's the goal of our conversations every time. So, with you sharing this story, hopefully, this is giving some insight to the parents that are here to say, hey, look, kid, are you okay? I'm just checking in, you know? And if you're not okay, let's figure out how we can get you to be okay, you know? And hopefully, that is the nudge and the thing that is going to help parents to be great parents to support their children because again kids do experience anxiety, they do experience stress and things, and sometimes they don't have the words to talk about it and know what to say to tell someone. So it's good if we do have the time to check in and see, are you okay? And if you're not, please tell me, you know. And
Right.
so
And everything is training with parents too. Like, even if some parents would hear
mhm,
that and be like, well, my kid's not asking me if I'm okay. Teach them to ask you if you're okay. I just watched a video of I think she was like 2 or 3, and the little girl was like, Mom, how was your day? And she was having a full blown conversation with her mother. But everything is just how you teach somebody to do something. And
that's
I
correct.
definitely think that having what you said, those conversations with children. I'm only 24, so to me, I still fall under the child category. I don't got no kids. So I'm like, as I'm in this in between phase, because I'm not the
Yeah.
24-year-old that tries to be grown. I'm be trying to go to jumpology this weekend if I can. But I honestly think that having these type of conversations, and again, if you can share this with even somebody older, younger, I feel like this conversation applies to multiple generations because, as we said, we're going through some different administrations soon. We don't know what that'll look like, positive or negative. And as you said, people
Mhm.
are scared. So, as other people are strapping up, we just need to at least know the basics, like know safety, know how to disarm things. And that's why, again, I'm very grateful for you and what you do.
Well, thank you. I definitely am grateful for you sharing this experience. I'm sad that you went through it. I am happy that you're strong enough to be able to share it so that others can actually learn from it. Um, one of the things that I found really interesting when this election took place, and there became a story that came out about an HBCU that was burnt to the ground. Yes, and it's all over TikTok and whatnot. And of course, the first thing that people are saying is that it was Trump supporters that did this. And so when you hear this, you take this and run with it, and you're becoming alarmed, especially if you are a person of color, because you're thinking, oh, the white supremacy groups, they're all, you know, they're doing this, they're doing that. And it's like, okay, people, stop, take a moment to really investigate. Take a moment to give them a couple days to figure out what the truth is, get the truth out, and then they'll come back and let us know. And guess what? Um, you know, history has a way of repeating itself in so many ways, and we have these people who came before us who said awesome things. Like one of the things I always try to teach my kids is what Gil Scott Heron poem and song said: the revolution will not be televised. So while we have all this television, all this media out there, they're not going to tell us the details of these things. We have to read, okay? And so, and I'm telling this to my kids with the same, you know, enthusiasm and voice, with the fact that when I was their age, I hated reading. I absolutely hated reading as a kid, but now as an adult, I feel like it's my duty. I read everything all the time. I prefer to read the news versus looking at the news, because when you look at the news, they tell you bits and pieces of it. But when you read it, they tell you the hard facts and the evidence and the truth. So you get the full truth and you can come up with a better conclusion of what actually happened. So just out of 5 minutes of me finding out that this HBCU got burnt to the ground, I went and researched, and within 5 minutes, I found out that no one knew exactly how the fire started. It was speculated that it was started and not an accident, but they don't really know. It could have been a squatter or something of that nature because the building itself was abandoned or wasn't used as a college anymore. It had been closed down, I believe, I think it was 2020, 2015, I believe. So it's been just sitting there for years and not being occupied as a school. So it could have the fire could have started some other way of a squatter or something of that way, or electrical problem or something. It was a 100-year-old building. So basically it's under investigation. And the fact that people started throwing out there that it's Trump supporters really made me feel like, okay, what else are we just taking bits and pieces of the truth and running with it? Okay.
I think that's what the whole election is, because like I
Mm-hmm.
said earlier, in 2024, me being a digital marketer, I see things a little bit differently, especially this election. It was very interesting to watch the marketing because that's what a lot of the campaign is. It's marketing. They're trying to
Mm-hmm.
rally and gain money. So if you look at it, Trump won the election. That's what they say. But the marketing wise, Kamala made a whole lot of money. A whole lot of money. A
Yeah.
whole lot of money. Now, I personally, y'all watching this, I don't, there are positives and negatives of both parties. So I don't, let's put that aside for right now. Now, when we look
Yeah.
at the marketing behind some of these things, when you're looking at your phone, they're purposely putting that stuff out to you. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I actually saw something. This is not Kamala slander, but I saw something that said, from a marketing standpoint, Kamala put out a certain campaign towards Muslims in a certain state, and she put a certain campaign towards Jewish people in a certain state. So it's very
Mm-hmm.
interesting how now that there's literal war that's going on, and two campaigns are going on to different sides, the same thing can go out for the whole gun violence situation. People that are for guns will see pro guns all on their timeline, or even hard anti-gun people. You'll get that, but people that
Mm-hmm.
are not thinking about that at all will not see anything like that on their timeline. People that, more than likely, most of the people that are not African American or heavy Trump supporters don't even know about the fire situation at all, because
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't in their timeline. So I think that stuff is very interesting as to like the outcome of everything. And actually, one of my
Mm-hmm.
favorite marketers, I really don't know about the video he did, but the concept was interesting. He took the two campaigns and broke down the emails, the text, the full everything, like the social media of both sides, and then gave his prediction before everything happened, the motto, everything. And
Wow.
either way, um, the fear part of the election, even if you wanted Kamala to win, you have to keep in mind she did as but the best she could with 2 months. She only had a
Mm-hmm.
few months. Keep in mind, she was not running for president at the beginning of this. So she did the
Right.
best she could. But hopefully, you guys can get trained and won't be afraid anymore of we won't know what's gonna happen, but you can be prepared, I can say.
Yeah. I mean, definitely it's one of those things. Getting that knowledge is the first step. Get the knowledge that you need and don't just take half truths and run with it. I mean, honestly, please don't. From this day on, you hear something, don't have a reaction right away. Think about it, research it, and then have your reaction. Because I
Right, and
guarantee
research
you,
on different websites, not Wikipedia. And if you are on Wikipedia, go to the bottom and see where they got their information from. Because anybody can change anything on Wikipedia, like literally. You can make an article about yourself
mhm,
if you want to. So make sure you're looking at and fact checking. And even
I
AI
didn't know
isn't
that.
correct 100% of the time.
I do usually go to at least three different sources just so I can see if there's going to be like conclusive, like the information is going to be the same or it's going to be something different from one source to another.
And it
So
can't be skewed either because me,
yeah.
I can only speak of as myself as a black woman. If you look at up something, you might look again if you just relate it back to the basic TV scenario. Fox,
Hmm.
CNN, all ABC, they all kind of have different direct.
Yeah. Up the sound messed up a little bit when the phone moved.
Depending on what you're
Okay.
looking up, even you asking the question into Google or whatever
Hmm.
you're looking at it on, you're biased in what you're typing in. So you have to just kind of. My favorite thing is Quora, little chat room, Reddit, because you get pros,
Hmm.
cons, they get links. Those are the kind of things that I think go into good research. Or I have an app called Everand where it gives me documents, like medical documents, some of like even like
Nice.
I would say like Western medicine and Eastern medicine, like some of the Eastern practices. They have some of Dr. Sabi's books and they're completely a lot of different types of stuff so you can be able to pull, as well as magazines, newspapers, all of
Hmm.
this stuff in one. Books, audiobooks. Check out Everend. Not
I'm
sponsored,
gonna have to check
but
into
it's a
that.
good one.
Yeah, that seems like my kind of place to look at some things and read and understand some things. And I tell you, when I get down into something, I'm like, I'm tunnel vision into learning that, really need to understand that thing inside and out. And I really like to go in with the perspective of trying my hardest not to be biased one side to the other side, because I want to have a clear understanding of it before I become having my own opinion about it, basically. So yeah, that's really usually my goal there. And so definitely, reading is going to be very fundamental, is what I've always been taught. And I didn't hear that didn't pop until I got to be an adult, that reading is fundamental. I was like, that meant nothing as a kid. It just said shoo. So oh, the audio is messing up for me, Judy, or is it for Alyssa? Just to get clarification, see if there's anything I need to do on my end to fix something. Anybody want to let me know? Testing me. Okay. All right. So give me 1 second. Let me see if I can.
Okay, yeah, I muted myself, so now we're testing me because it might have been my feedback. I don't
Okay.
know.
How about now? I hope this is okay. I mean, we're closing up here anyway, so we got out everything we want to say. Okay.
That's a good one. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Looking like Alicia Keys' cousin. I can see that. I can see
My
that.
hair today too. I'm normally a my nickname is Curlissa. I don't know. I was like, I'm gonna twist up my hair. Life started
Yeah.
life and
I hear you. I wear my hair the same. I hear you. It definitely, we're gonna have to talk about some hair care products then. Because you do it often, I might need some help with that. Because I'm looking for some products that's gonna keep those curls looking beautiful. So so I'm glad the sound is good now. But in closing, I want to just remind you guys that you definitely have to react not on half truths, and definitely do your time to do the research, to come up with your own opinion, and not just go with the narrative. I mean, one prime example that I can give everyone that we all could probably relate to is when COVID first happened. What was the thing that everybody was going out to get besides hand sanitizer and face masks?
tissue
Tissue,
paper.
of all things. What did COVID really have to do with tissue? But yet,
Literally.
everybody went out and got it. It was, nobody could find tissue. It was sold out here and there. And it was a mass hysteria panic over tissue. I was like, I would really love to dive into that. I want a journalist to go into that, to
No, let
tell
me
me.
tell you. I have a behind the scenes scoop, something that not a lot of people will be able to say. I worked at the first vaccination clinic in Virginia. That was interesting. It was very interesting. We had about, when it got normal and stable, 1,500 people a day come in there. Hearing the
Wow.
things that like people were asking, the questions that we had to ask, knowing that like the shot can interact with Botox. How many people are Botoxed up out here? Like certain things like that. Do people look that up? Do they know all of this information before they get this And then I worked in the registration thing, so I got to intake a whole lot of information and then see now people are throwing up behind me. What's going on back there? I'm looking at people passing out behind me. What's going on over
Wow.
there? But again, like if you look at how that vaccination ended up working, we changed that formula almost every single day. Every single day. It was
Mhm.
basically human trials. So it's like when you go back now, you should maybe look up your first little research that you can do other than gun violence can be what is inside of that shot and how is it affecting people and what are the projected feelings of that.
Oh, yeah.
That is very interesting. But yeah, I
Yes.
worked in the first vaccination clinic of Virginia, so seeing hearing people come back to the world after they just bought 50,000 things of toilet paper and now they have an Amazon Plus membership and they have 50 hobbies and that's very interesting.
Yes, yes. Because I know coming off of COVID lockdown and things, a year passed and I'm looking at bills and stuff. We were spending like $150 on subscriptions a month. Subscriptions, like, your Netflix, your Hulu, all these
Y'all need to
television
download Rocket
subscriptions.
Money. Rocket Money. It'll tell you all your
Yes.
subscriptions.
Yes. And so how many of you guys out there are the same thing? Did you notice you were like having all these extra subscriptions that you don't necessarily use all the time? I had to cut that stuff out. I had to cut. Chop, chop, chop. Yes. So someone said we don't talk about COVID. It was a
That
dark
made me
memory of our
laugh.
generation.
Your audience is hilarious.
Oh, they are. They really are. Because some of us had households, had a lot of butts at home all day. Well, that would be me.
Right. I had to move back with my mom. I
Lots
was
and lots of
like,
butts.
our whole apartment shut down. Hey, they kicked us out. They didn't even let me get my stuff for a while. I was like, wow.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That is crazy. So when it comes to the fact that things like that, that's just a prime example of what I'm trying to say to you guys. Don't get caught up necessarily in the media just saying one narrative and that's you take it and run with it. Get your own research, know your own opinion on the matter. But in the meantime, definitely do your diligent part of getting the knowledge and staying equipped with whatever skills you may need, whether that is for you to be having firearm safety awareness and actually owning a firearm for just in case. That is fine. But don't go and do it because it's mass hysteria. Do it because it's something you feel like you really need to do and that you think you're ready mentally, emotionally about having as well. So um, just don't be easily persuaded, I should say. So thing is, we can't control others, but we can control ourselves. And I just want you guys to leave with that today. So thank you all for joining. Thank you so much, Alyssa, for sharing with us and hanging out with us. Here at Shoot This Today, we did a great thing, making sure people are like aware of the experiences that others experience like that. I can't tell you how deep that story was because to me at least because I know I hear these situations. I'm researching these type of situations all the time. Anytime there's like a mass shooting or a particular story that comes up about someone using a firearm inappropriately, and I'm not thinking as deeply as I can about how individually people are affected that are around that person. I'm only really thinking about the direct contact of the mom, the dad, the siblings, but not thinking about the friends. Friends, a lot of times, are closer than blood. So, really, it's one of those things where it matters. We're all connected. And that's the part we got to remember. We're all connected and we have to do our part to help protect one another. So, if you guys are listening to this, please like this video. If you have not subscribed already, please subscribe and stay tuned because we're going to be back next week with another discussion that's going to keep you guys on your toes and be aware. And Miss Alyssa, we're going to put links in this video so people can actually take part in seeing the things that you were sharing. So when you get a chance, send me those links and I'm going to put it on the video. So when people look in the description, they'll be able to see those links as well. And thank you
No
again.
problem. Thanks for having me. Good night.
Good night. Have a good one. Good night, you guys. Thank y'all so much again. Have a good one.